Hello, possums. It's your intrepid reader here, Dr. Lena, sociologist from freezing Australia. You guys are sweltering in the Northern Hemisphere, and I'm wearing half a woolly mammoth. It's so weird being in different hemispheres, but that gives me an outsider perspective. So we've got a launch in today. How about the Yeti saying Milwaukee's a horrible city, where they're hosting the Taliban convention for the GOP? I mean, as if he's ever spent half an hour in Milwaukee, you know. Or is he saying that deliberately because it is quite a progressive and attractive city? Who would know? He's so perverse. But also that he was intending to stay in Chicago every night because he was too precious to stay in Wisconsin. Well, shot himself in the Yeti paw with this one. Love it. I hope he doesn't get a single vote from Wisconsin. Okay, but before we dive into other things, Roger Stone. Now, secret recordings have been revealed. Thank God for the whistleblowers, is all I can say. And he's saying to whoever's on the other end of the phone, don't worry, Trump's got judges in his pocket. Now, this sort of stuff is very corrosive, but let's hope it's corrosive for Roger Stone. Is there going to be any follow-up? Because he, like Bannon, should already have been in jail and was pardoned by the hideous one. So let's have a look. I'm sure he's committed enough crimes. There's room for manoeuvre. If the legal system moved out of the glacial age, they could do something about these people. But let's have a quick look at Roger Stone. Okay, having a look here. Well, let's pull one more. We're at crossroads. Okay. Now, he gets the King of Pentacles. He's a wealthy man in his own right. Wealthy people tend to know wealthy people, not a surprise. But he's used to the negative side of the King of Pentacles is someone who abuses power and money. Oh, I wonder if that could be the case. So he's so used to having this freedom to actively destroy democracy that for him it's business as usual. I think he has an undiagnosed condition as well, but that doesn't let him off the hook. This has wounded him, but not fatally. So he's going to come back. This is my Fred Flintstone card, more bombastic than ever. It's because these men learn nothing. They're incapable of actually adjusting their behavior or even modifying their behavior a tiny little bit. No. Look at this over the king. You know, sorry, I'm doing that badly. The king and the wands here. So they have very base brain function in terms of their own importance. I think he could have been pulled up over it. He'd have a lot of overpaid and frustrated lawyers in his stable as well. Now, this is my Best of America card. I'd like to think there are more than 36 people left in America who are actually offended by the principle of buying the judiciary. This might have a little bit more of a residual impact than we think at the moment. I hope so. I hope so. And speaking of legals, Aileen Cannon, I was going to stay away from Aileen Cannon because just the thought of her gives me the heebie-jeebies and I start breathing in a shallow fashion. But this Friday, She's having one of her absolutely ridiculous mini meetings in how can I undermine the working legal system of the USA. I know a year in or a year and a half in or something, I'll say Jack Smith shouldn't be there because there shouldn't be a special counsel, like she's just thought of it. Obviously, someone's rung her up at 2 a.m, gave her the idea. She's been working on it. Things are not going entirely her way. Will this hearing, I think it's US Friday, but it's coming up shortly, where she's hearing both sides because she's so, even-handed. Will we wait, will this give Jack Smith and the 11th Circuit grounds to dismiss her? I saw in Raw Story or somewhere that the appellate judges, have actually approached her. She's been professionally reprimanded twice, but this is independent of that, have actually approached her along the lines of, Aileen, perhaps you'd like to get a job as a personal trainer with Marjorie Taylor Greene or something, suggesting she step aside, giving her one more chance. Now, this, I'd like to think, means they are giving her this opportunity. She, of course, will refuse. So maybe they're finally going to do something to support the American people, to support justice. It's not just your justice, my justice, this justice. The overarching principle of justice in a case where we all saw the boxes being hauled around by the hired help and others. God knows what happened to other documents. So let's see. Are the 11th Circuit ready to move? Took me a while to get to the actual question. Are they getting ready to move or not? Are they going to decompose in office along with all the other guardrails? Come on, 11th Circuit, what are you going to do? Okay. Oh. Look, how many fingers and toes can you cross? What I'm hoping. Now, usually this is my GOP card. Often is, but it is generally, when it's not specifically about the GOP, happy days, right? The rainbow, celebrating. Oof. Bit of movement finally with the Chariot. Dare to hope, dare to dream. The Justice card. Thank you, Jesus, or your relevant deity, And she could be out. This is a possibility, no time frames with tarot, but I'm liking that a lot. I mean, it's not a time for decent people not wanting to rock the boat and letting things play out in due time. And I know that's all very worthy, and I've been an advocate myself for many decades. However, when you're in extraordinary times, it calls for extraordinary measures, and playing nice isn't going to cut it, But she's also, it's not asking any favors, from Democrats or anything. She's proved herself to be inept and suspiciously biased, over and over and over and over. That is what they are there to oversee. It's not as though she's played the game and it wouldn't be appropriate to remove her. There's still no trial date. It is absurd. It is beyond absurd. Now, on the 9th of June, which was not long ago, 10 days ago or something, Saudi Arabia and others got together. It's officially the end of the US petrodollar arrangement. Now, if you follow energy financing, you'd know for the last 20 years, particularly the last 15, the US dollar is no longer the big player. And that's because of the stupid sanctions on Iran and Russia and everywhere else. People use other ways around sanctions. So it was not one of the US's smarter foreign policy decisions to introduce these sanctions. So they went to the UN and other currencies 15 years ago. Now they've worked out, well, why bother going back to the US? So this is a very big deal, and I think it's being underestimated by people. So will this have an impact on the global power balance, really? The US dollar is still very strong. It's still the point of reference in hundreds of other ways. However, it was all underpinned by the petrodollar. And that's officially over. Let's have a quick look. Will this Saudi move impact the global game or not? You know, these big players, currencies are only currencies, but let's have a look. All right. Money. There's going to be some confusion about this first. But look, overarching the reading, the very reasonable temperance card. Now, it could mean that things are not as dramatic as some people are worried about, or it could be that things do shift, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And should the Yeti, heaven forbid, get another term, it could be actually a safeguard. I don't think that's going to happen. Relax. The temperance card over the lot is suggesting it's not going to be mega earth-shattering. King of Wands, there will be new big players in the mix. And Page of Pentacles, a message about money. It could be that the page could be holding a little crypto or something else entirely. And you know how during the pandemic, cash sort of stopped being used. Now we're trying to bring it back. I'm an old-fashioned girl. I just remember my father's voice when I'd leave at night going, "You got cash and keys?" I love cash. You know how much you're spending. But this could be the blurring of the old lines around currency generally. That's how I'd sum that up. Now, Matt Gaetz. They must really hate Matt Gaetz in the GOP because they don't do bipartisan anything. And yet the ethics committee keeps investigating. They keep, changing the rules and say, oh, we're not charging him for this. We might charge him for that. Oh, no, we're not charging him for this. But what about that? The point is they are still looking at him for very serious charges. I don't know that it'll be the sex trafficking of a minor, but for things like taking political funding and spending it on yourself. Okay. It's the George Santos thing. Here's another George Santos. So little mini read, is this committee going to do anything about Gaetz, or is it hot air? Gaetz, is he worried? Is anything going to happen? Okay. Oh, I think something is going to happen. They're strategizing. They really don't like him. Here comes the message, which we just had. This time they're following the money. This is usually my Biden card, and I don't think for 1 nanosecond Biden's interfering in this case, but it could be that he's watching it closer than you might think. But I'm loving this, the exit card. I think in order, I don't see him going to jail, love to be wrong, but it could be, we won't prosecute this further if you leave government. Now, he's not best mates with the Yeti. He doesn't really have a safety net. So he might go and start up an accounting firm with George Santos. I mean, leaving. Oh, okay. Now, the GOP conclave, you know, I've got to move to the circus cards about this. Because during the week, so what was it the Yeti said? Because he talks in these hyper terms all the time, he said of all the jobs that Biden's created, and there's 250,000 or 500,000, there's a significant number of jobs. 100% of them have gone to illegal aliens. Now, it's just a cretinous, villainous statement. Okay, it would have been smarter, Donald, to actually say 76%, and then you get all these people who believe him and go, oh, 76%. 100%, even if you're rusted on, has to alert you on some level. If you have any neuron left circulating independently, you'd have to be a little bit suspicious of that statement, you know. So basically, I think between the Milwaukee thing, between the shark stories, you know, he's doing it to himself. I'm not going to look at the GOP. Let's look at his health. I'll stay with the circus card. Let's look. He could fall over easily between now and then, particularly depending on how his sentencing turns out. I mean, even if he got weekend detention, which is a possibility or something, he'd just totally freak out. Now, let's have a look. How is the Yeti's health? How is the Yeti's health? Well, I hope they've got a good vet, you know. Yes. All right, this is an interesting dynamic here. Okay. Now, starting with the Ace of Cups, he gets 2 aces. I mean, I don't know what his parents did when he was conceived, but this man had the luckiest chart going at the time. And isn't it ironic? Had he not gone down the escalator and broken the nation and destroyed people, he'd be still living in the lap of luxury without a care in the world. I digress. Sorry. Ace of Cups is about emotions, but the Yeti doesn't have emotions. So in the traditional sense. But I think, in fact, he's discovering emotions, or emotions are discovering him. He's someone who really doesn't care. I defy him to be able to name his grandchildren. He's got 11 grandchildren. He could no more name them than fly to the moon. You know, he could take another cognitive test, you know, judge, jury, felon. But I think he's overwhelmed by his feelings. He's never had to deal with them before. He would have strong, negative, low vibration things. Angry, bored, upset, betrayed, and never had to follow any of them through. He could just bend the world to his shape. And now I think he's experiencing emotions and they're not warm and fuzzy. I think he's completely thrown. So the King of Wands, him, the blusterer, who literally ruled the world, now he's in a high wire act, upside down. He's the one who's upside down. And look at this card. I love the visuals. This is just being pounded home. I think I'm getting the image of a cornered animal. He's feeling caged now because he hasn't got the freedom that he used to have even a year ago. His actual freedom isn't his own, because even though there are going to be thousands of people at that ridiculous convention, talk about the emperor's new clothes, pretending the man is not certifiably insane, he's going to have that hit. But here's the clinger. I don't think he even believes it anymore. It's like, wow, it's tipped over into a new paradigm. Ooh. A cornered Yeti is not a happy Yeti. Now, to finish, you guys are going through extreme weather. We are too. But I'm going to have a quick look at summer weather in the US in relation to, is it going to tip the scales? Are the weather events going to be significant enough to tip the scales? You've already got a situation in Florida where the insurance companies have left Dodge. You know, let's have a look at weather, what you need to know, and will it have an ongoing impact politically? Okay. Well, all right. I think there's an answer here. Wheel of Fortune, what has been fated and destined to happen? Now, we are all impacted by climate disasters, and we are all responsible for neglecting to address this in the last 30 or 40 years. When I say we, I'm sure 80 or 100% of you are green people, right? You know, including myself. But as a collective, we've failed to do enough. And now, tell surprise, it's coming round, right? I don't think this is just the US either with this card. I think we're going to see mass flooding events, etc., in Europe as well. But this is speaking to me. People will be impacted. So it's really super important, guys, to have your evacuation plan ready, or even if you can afford it and you have friends or families or contacts somewhere else, to leave some of the more obvious vulnerable places along the Gulf Coast, etc. But really think about it. Make sure you have your pet packs ready, fuel in the car at all times, plenty of extra water, your medications duplicated in a dedicated pack. You know, do the stuff to minimize what is always a hugely emotional thing, you know, with a big weather event. I think there will be those, obviously. This is my Best of America card again. I think the rescues and the cleanups and stuff will be amazing and will bring people together. right? These two cards, I think, go together. This is working with other people about money. This would be a state accessing federal funds to help with a big weather event, etc., except the red states either refuse the money or they take the money and say it was them that gave it to them, right? So it will come down to big money. This could also be big insurance payouts in states other than Florida and so forth. Big money is involved, but it's going to bring people to the table, okay, which isn't always a bad thing. Get people to the table. In other good news, before I finish, was the Baltimore Channel and Port have actually been reopened, not the bridge itself, I'm sure, but that has been an amazing effort in 11 weeks, thanks to Biden's support, union workers, cooperation. Cooperation is the key for our survival and for us all to flourish, cooperation. And in other good news, which one is it? The Maryland governor is poised to wipe the convictions of 175,000 marijuana users. Good on you. Someone having the courage to stand up in the modern world and go, is this really our biggest social problem? I don't think so. Time to let all that old stuff go. Okay, guys, don't forget I'm now taking bookings for personal readings, and you might like a general reading on things going on in your life or a past life reading. Okay, so if you do, email me. My email will be in this description. And I've got a whole series of collabs coming up. Laurie, The Way of Positive Change, Deanne, Shield Maiden, Andre, the astrologer. I'll keep you across all those. See you soon. Bye.